Is the internet killing cinema? I think so, but it's not all bad. Here are my thoughts. This week I watched a classic horror movie on Netflix. That is the name of the film, I'm not just describing it. And the ending of this movie made me think rather profoundly about how new filmmakers get their work out into the world and get it seen. Let me explain. Right after the credits at the ending, or the start of the credits, there is a short little bit in which the filmmakers present a chat room scenario in which people on the internet are talking about the movie they just watched. That was great. It sucked. I only watched it for 2 minutes. There should have been more blood. It wasn't scary, but that myth is real. You should Google it. All those kind of things. And then someone in the chat room says, oh, okay, I'm going to go and watch it now. So he clicks out of the chat room, goes into some kind of streaming service, and puts this movie on. What he does is click about 5 to 10 minutes into the movie where he sees a clip of the final girl before she's the final girl. And after about 10 seconds, he clicks to almost the end of the movie where he sees her actually, becoming the final girl, covered in blood, killing somebody, trying to get away. So he stops watching the movie there entirely, and before he leaves, decides, am I going to give this a thumbs up or a thumbs down? And then gives it a thumbs down. What this made me wonder is how many of us consume films in this way? How many of us only watch brief moments of a movie before we make a judgment call and then decide to actually give that movie a rating? It does feel like something that needs to be spoken about, because new filmmakers rely on the rating system upon which we now rate all movies via the internet. And if people are allowed to review things without having actually watched them fully, is that a fair scenario for any filmmaker, let alone new filmmakers, to find their material in? No, it's not fair at all, but I think I know how we got here. You see, the problem cinema has right now is that it's always had the same model for success. And that is, if you're a filmmaker and you make a film, you then demand an audience sit down in a dark room for an hour and a half or longer and pay exclusive attention to the story that you've created for the screen. And even when it's had to share that space over the last 100 years with the dawn of TV and then video and then DVD and then Blu-ray, there's always still been a significant space for cinema to exist and for people to still give it that kind of one-on-one exclusive attention for that period of time, that 90 minutes or longer. Do you think people should be allowed to rate movies on streaming sites if they haven't watched, let's say, 50% of that movie? Thank you, Betty. If you think they should have watched at least 50%, write yes to 50 in the comments below. But what's happened in recent years is that audiences no longer really need that cinematic experience in order to consume decent, entertaining video content. And it kills me to call cinematic films content, but in the landscape of the web, that's what it is. And it now has to share that space with lots of much shorter form videos that are created with the attention span of a modern day audience in mind. That's videos made for the internet, not videos just placed on the internet because that's a place that we put them these days. And our attention spans are a whole lot shorter than 90 minutes. And Netflix has made it super easy to be able to still consume movies on its platform, because you can now speed up the time in which you watch the movie, or you can just use the digital time bar to skip to any point in the movie you want to. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's probably a terrible thing, really. However, as a modern filmmaker, as a new filmmaker, we're going to have to adjust to that landscape, because I don't think we're going back to the way things were anytime soon, if ever. Yes, for film fans and filmmakers who want to make it, this all sounds very sucky, but this is what we can do about it. So as new filmmakers, the likelihood of you being able to engage an audience like directors of old, like Scorsese or Kubrick or Tarantino, those days I think are over. I think what we're looking at now is a landscape in which the best things you can do is to create short, sharp, engaging films that you can test out on those short, sharp, attention span seeking platforms. I'm not saying you should stop making feature films. But what I am saying is, if you want to build yourself an audience, you can do a lot worse than experimenting and exploring the ideas that you want to use in those longer form films on platforms like TikTok, Instagram and YouTube. And those platforms are actually way better set up for low to no budget filmmakers who don't have equipment, because you can have an idea and shoot it on your phone purely as an experiment, purely as two characters talking some dialogue or a funny sketch or a tense scene. You can do all of that without any of the production value required to make it look like a film, and the audience on those platforms is going to be ready to receive it, because that's actually what they're looking for. And I really think that's the way new filmmakers have to try and evolve, particularly if you're starting from scratch and you don't have the budget. The best thing about these small platforms is that you can get an instant reaction to what it is you're doing. You can see exactly how many people watched your short idea for a movie, how many people liked it, how many people shared it, and all that information is only going to allow you to craft something in longer form that's going to matter and is going to keep people's attention. If you can find your audience there and they can champion your work there, then when it comes to you actually making a feature, you can build that relationship up even further. Get them on board at the very beginning of the process, so when it comes to you putting your movie out there, they'll be championing it everywhere, including on those platforms that you first introduce yourself to them. So I think cinema now finds itself in a really strange place, because where we're going to be watching most of our films in the future is not a place that's entirely best suited to long form video. There's just too many other things to distract us when it comes to trying to watch cinema in that way. So I think my belief is that the best way for new filmmakers to realise their ambition and get their long form projects out there is to make things on these platforms that are absolutely keen on zero budget, idea driven content, because it's there you're going to find out if something works, and it's there where things can be breakable or crap and it not matter. An idea didn't work, never mind, move on to the next one, get that out there and published. It's the quickest possible way that you could develop and understand what works and what doesn't. It's much quicker than spending 2 years working on a film project, shooting the thing, getting it out there, and then realising that you made mistakes. But no matter how the filmmaking landscape changes for cinematic work and how filmmakers reach their audience, one rule still remains: make every shot count. If you start writing something and it feels like you've seen this before, then stop what you're doing and think to yourself 3 other ways you could shoot this or write this that feels new. And then when you've done that, think of a 4th. Same goes for production. If you're shooting something and you feel like a shot is a little flat, maybe you're a little bit tired and you haven't got the headspace to think of something else, give yourself a moment and try and think more creatively about how you could present your work. Have discussions on set with people, because your crew is also going to be relying on the success of the work that you're doing together. No matter where cinema is going to exist in the future and how an audience watches it, film has always been about holding the viewer's attention. Now that might be much, much harder these days than ever before, but if you can engage someone with a story that's worth holding their attention, then that audience is going to make your story the priority to keep their attention on. If you found this video useful, hit the like button and let me know. Also, according to the multiverse theory, if you click on one of the videos on your screen now, you'll be creating a whole new universe. Pretty cool, huh?